Alright, let me go ahead and jump on the bandwagon. Because this issue is starting to gain some flack again on social media. Not just because it really already is one, but because some pre-issue, ideal, dancing social media celebrity who does nothing absolutely related to his title decided to go run his mouth over something which I assume he has little to no knowledge about. What am I getting at here? Mass testing. Let's talk about it. Mass testing. This is really a big issue that should have been tackled when this coronavirus thing actually hit the floor. Before we do anything else, let's break down these two words and see what they mean at the base. So we have mass and testing. Mass. This is anything that occupies weight and has space. Mass is anything that has weight and occupies space.
Yes, science!
It's also a religious gathering for a certain religion.
Ta-da!
But kidding aside, when we talk about mass, we're talking about size. We're talking about something that's either big or small. But in this context, it's to refer to something that is huge, large, big, a lot, or where we get the adjective massive. Testing.
A few inches later.
Testing. Testing. Testing is what you would normally do or say to see if your microphone is turned on. Guys, tawanan nyo naman yung mga jokes ko. Hindi naman ako humorous na tao kaya bigyan nyo naman yung mga jokes ko Hindi ko na nga ginagawang seryoso tong usapan natin, pero tulungan nyo naman ako, guys. But going back, when we say testing, this is an attempt. This is to try. This is to see and observe. In this context, when we say testing, we mean to assess, check, and evaluate. And when we put 2 and 2 together, we get mass testing. So, when I say mass testing, I mean to say that this is the assessment, checking, and evaluation of a large number of people, hopefully the entire population, of their health conditions. Get me? Alright. So, I'm gonna give you dessert first. Why I think we need mass testing urgently. If this first reason doesn't convince you otherwise, hirap mong suyuin. I don't know what will. So, here's an article that I found online and I read somewhere else as well, and I watched on the news several months ago when this pandemic and the virus was still a teenager. In a big city in the capital region, an efficient government official decided to test some of his constituents. I don't know how many, or I guess I didn't read that much, but I'll assume he got a good percentage of them. Before the news came out that they were positive, in a negative sense, we have to understand that these people were asymptomatic. Meaning these people had, and I'll assume again, little to no contact with anyone prone to the virus or anyone who has the virus already. Had the test not pushed through and had the official not thought about it in the first place, then we wouldn't have understood that even asymptomatic people can get the virus. So you could be like me, who was in their house the entire lockdown period, never went out, at least not at a great distance, never did anything stupid like blatantly violate quarantine rules, but stayed in their homes diligently until the government had a solution. If you did that, then probably you have a high chance of not contracting the virus. But still, we would never know. The coronavirus! like all microscopic organisms, cannot be seen by the naked eye, and so their transmission from one person to another is not exactly understood fully just yet. So we'll never know how it can spread, but the logical case here would be, as all viruses are... Oh, it's gonna rain. Airborne. So mass testing in this particular example is like a being safe than sorry type of scenario. Get me there? If that didn't convince you enough, ang kitid ng utak mo. Now, another reason why I believe that the mass testing should push through is because as of the making of this video, we are almost at or have surpassed 19,000 cases in the country. Now, I do commend the transparency and the efforts of the Department of Health, as what Dr. Vergeire said. I'm pretty sure I nailed that name. But still, a few months ago we were only at, what, several hundred cases? Now we are almost at, or certainly are at, 19,000? That's alarming. That's 6 months progression to 19,000 cases. I don't think I have the confidence to say that the curve is flattened, or the curve has flattened. I don't think I have the confidence to say that the curve has actually flattened, or if the efforts of the government are enough. I'm probably going to jail for that. Also, mass testing the people, especially with government restrictions now easing for lockdowns, is probably a good idea because a lot of people are going back to their regular lives in terms of them going back to jobs, commuting from one city to another just to earn money. Some people are traveling to and fro. So people are going back to their regular way of life by going to their jobs, of course to provide for their families, for the sake of economy, at the expense of their health. If we're going to allow people to start going back to their regular lives and easing lockdown restrictions, you might as well just start mass testing so that you would see the actual count of those who are prone and already have the virus. Okay, I gave you the dessert. Now we have to eat our vegetables, because stay healthy.
Ang sarap.
Now, despite me really approving of mass testing, like all pros, there are cons. And this first reason would only happen in an ideal world, in an ideal scenario. But realistically speaking, in this particular country, physical distancing is not fully enforced. So, for example, the mass testing site is in your barangay hall. So you decide to go there. But you heard that one person in your area contracted the virus. You don't know who it is, but one person did. So you decide to go anyway, just to see if you have the virus or if you don't. You know, just want to be sure. You stay 1 meter apart, away from the person in front of you and behind you, which is good. Until one person in front of you starts coughing and sneezes in your direction. So, you could go to a mass testing site, clean and free from any of the virus, you're asymptomatic and you were healthy AF. But when you went to the mass testing site, you got the virus there. And the person who sneezed didn't really know he had the virus. And that's why he's there in the first place, to test if he also has the virus, which he now apparently does, for example. And so, you going to a testing site, not a curing site, but a testing site, only made it worse, and you yourself contracted the virus, where you could have stayed home instead and wait for an actual cure to come out instead of just a test. I mean, it's not the best reason, but hey, in this pandemic, all possibilities are or should be looked into. So, to conclude reason number one for the con side, you went to a mass testing site, not a mass curing site. You got the virus there, you found out you had the virus.
What? What the f?
Might as well be safe than sorry, so weigh it. So, weigh the good and the bad. Is it worth it? Speaking of the Department of Health, Again, I really do commend the overwhelming efforts and the transparency of this department as compared to other credible agencies. But really, if I were to be honest with you, our healthcare system sucks. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have a healthcare system. I'm glad we do. I'm glad we have enough resources and adequate facilities all across the country to help in combating the virus. I'm glad we do. It's a good thing that we have. 1 is still better than 0, but 2 is still better than 1. But even if we did have the best equipment and like the really top-notch equipment, outbesting the other countries in the world, even maybe overwhelming aliens on Mars and their healthcare system there, the Philippines just isn't ready, or really wasn't ready for a pandemic of this scale to affect us. We weren't ready because our healthcare system wasn't focused on as much as it should have. So again, I'm divided really among my statement where I said that the healthcare system sucks. It does on one part because we may not be able to test the entire population of the Philippines. That's a sad truth right there. We may not be able to test the entire Philippine archipelago and the surrounding islands that belong to us. We may not be able to test every single Filipino. But on the other hand, it's good that we have at least somehow an existing healthcare system. It's better than not having anything. Again, as I said, 1 is still better than 0, but 2 is way better than 1. If you can have 3, then hurrah.
Hoorah!
You know, speaking of one of my cons a while ago, when you do go to a mass testing site and someone sneezes at you, you'll never know that he or she had the virus. It's like a ghost, you know? This virus is like a ghost. It's gonna come into our lives, into our peaceful ass lives, all of a sudden just to be ruined and abused by something that we can't see, like a ghost. So this ghost virus would just come into our lives, screw us all up, and then leave us in a very poor state.
Ito ang aking kinatatakutan.
It's like a ghost. This virus is like a ghost. Like all the other people on Facebook and Instagram that don't reply to me anymore. I'm still here. So what do you think? Honestly, these are just my opinions. They're just what I've seen so far, what I've read from articles online, what I've watched on TV for the news. What do you guys think about the virus? Are we flattening the curve? Are we doing anything about it? How's your healthcare system working? Do you agree with mass testing? Let me know down in the comments below so that I'll get an idea of what I'm going to talk about, maybe in several other videos as well. And maybe if I might have missed something, you can put it down below so I can also understand further. Of course, what I've mentioned previously are just what I've understood, my perspective on how I've seen the coronavirus battle so far. So if you believe that you have other methods, other practices, other beliefs, feel free to enlighten me. I'm very open to reading comments and suggestions as well, and some perspectives from you guys as well. So stay safe during this pandemic. Don't do anything that would jeopardize the health of your family members, your friends, yourself included, and the entire populace that you go to when you go for work. Also, just be careful on social media, really. With all the fake news spreading around, you might as well educate yourself and understand more about this virus from actual credible sources. Be careful though, because there are some websites that might be perceived as credible because of how they're presented, but the information there, it isn't worth looking into, really. I've seen one and I'm like, really? In a pandemic like this, you gotta spread all that and fool people? And I mean, what the hell is wrong with you?
Fucking mother bloody fuck bitch!
So it's still really best to educate yourself about the virus. That way you'll have a better understanding of it. That way when you post on social media your opinion about this virus, you'd have a basis to return to, and you wouldn't just sound like some jackass Thank you guys so much for showing your love to me by making it to the end of this video. If you want to show me some more love, you can click on that subscribe button and hit the notification bell as well. That way, you'll be up to date on any other videos that I upload in the distant future as I start my new career from work at home.